It doesn't look dangerous at first. In fact, it looks admirable. You're the one people trust, the one who never causes problems, the one who smiles even when something feels off. And that's exactly why no one sees what's happening to you, because from the outside you're doing everything right. But inside, something is quietly collapsing. And here's what's disturbing. The more people praise you for being nice, the less they actually see you. You start disappearing in plain sight, not physically, but psychologically. It begins early. You learn that being easy to deal with gets you love. You learn that being quiet avoids conflict. You learn that saying yes keeps people close. And without realizing it, you make a silent decision. My needs are optional. Everyone else's are urgent. That's the moment the pattern locks in. And it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like identity. You become the peacemaker, the listener, the reliable one, the one who understands. And people love you for it. But here's the part no one tells you. They don't love you. They love how easy you are to keep. That difference changes everything. Because slowly, you stop asking for things. You stop expressing discomfort. You stop saying what you really think. Not because you don't have opinions, but because you've trained yourself to believe they don't matter. And it gets worse. You start feeling guilty for even having needs. Guilty for wanting space. Guilty for being upset. Guilty for not being endlessly available. So what do? You override yourself. Again, and again, and again. Until one day, you don't even recognize what you feel anymore. This is the hidden cost of being the nice person. You lose access to yourself. And the scariest part? You don't notice it happening, because the world rewards you for it. You're so kind. You're so selfless. I wish more people were like you. But those compliments, they're reinforcing your self-erasure. They're rewarding your silence. They're applauding your disappearance. And deep down, something starts to ache. A quiet resentment, a subtle exhaustion, a feeling you can't fully explain. Because on paper, your life looks fine, but internally, you feel invisible. This is the paradox. The nicer you become, the less real you feel. And most people miss this, because they think kindness is always good. But kindness driven by fear is not kindness, it's survival. You're not being nice because you want to. You're being nice because you're afraid not to be. Afraid of rejection, afraid of conflict, afraid of losing connection. So you perform, you adjust your tone, you filter your thoughts, you shapeshift depending on who you're around. And eventually, you become someone everyone likes, but no one truly knows, including yourself. And here's where it gets darker. Because when you suppress yourself long enough, that version of you doesn't disappear. It waits, it builds, collects everything you didn't say, every boundary you didn't set, every moment you swallowed your truth, and it turns into something else. Resentment, but not loud resentment, quiet resentment, the kind that leaks out in small ways. A sigh, a delayed reply, a sudden irritation that doesn't make sense. And you start asking yourself, why am I like this? But you're not broken. You're backed up, emotionally, and no one taught you how to release it, because your entire identity is built on holding everything in. This is the shadow of being nice, and it gets even more uncomfortable, because the people around you, they've adapted to this version of you. They expect you to be available. They expect you to say yes. They expect you to be okay. So the moment you try to change, there's friction, confusion, sometimes even rejection. You've changed. You're being selfish. You're not the same anymore. And that hits hard. That's the internal conflict. And it's brutal, because either way, something feels like it's breaking. But here's the truth most people avoid. You were never actually being kind. You were being acceptable. There's a difference. Kindness is honest. What you learned was compliance. And compliance always comes with a cost. The cost is you. And the longer you ignore that cost, the heavier it becomes. Until one day, you can't carry it anymore. And when that happens, it doesn't come out gently. It comes out all at once. You snap, you withdraw, you shut down, and everyone is shocked because they've only ever known the version of you that never breaks. But that version was never sustainable. It was built under pressure, and pressure always cracks eventually. So now you're left with something unfamiliar. Your truth, raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable. And here's where things start to shift. Because for the first time, you're forced to ask a question you've been avoiding your entire life. Who am I? When I'm not trying to be liked, that question changes everything. Because now, you're not performing, you're confronting. And what you find might not be what you expected. There's anger, there's sadness, there's unmet needs you buried years ago. And it's overwhelming, because you were never taught how to hold those emotions. You were taught how to hide them. But here's what most people miss. Those emotions are not the problem. They're the signal. They're showing you where you abandoned yourself. And for the first time, you're starting to see it clearly. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you stayed silent when something hurt. Every time you chose peace over truth. You weren't protecting the relationship. You were sacrificing yourself. And that realization is uncomfortable, but it's also the beginning. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's where the real transformation begins. But it won't feel like growth at first. It will feel like loss. Loss of identity. Loss of approval. Loss of the version of you everyone was used to. And it gets worse before it gets better. Because now, you have to unlearn everything that made you likable. You have to disappoint people. You have to say no. You have to risk being misunderstood. And for someone who built their entire identity around being nice, that feels terrifying. But it's necessary, because the life you've been living was never fully yours. It was shaped by expectations, maintained by fear, and reinforced by praise. And if you don't break that pattern, you'll spend your entire life being loved for a version of you that doesn't even exist. That's the real tragedy. Not that you're too nice, but that you were never allowed to be real. And now, you have a choice. Keep performing, or finally start showing up as yourself. Even if it costs you, because the truth is, it will cost you. But what you gain is something you've never actually had before. Yourself. First, feels wrong, almost unnatural. You say no to something small, and your chest tightens. Your mind starts racing. What if they get upset? What if they leave? What if I just ruined everything? That panic is not about the moment. It's older than that. It's the echo of every time your safety depended on being easy. Every time love felt conditional. Every time being too much felt dangerous. So now, even the smallest act of honesty feels like a threat. But here's what most people don't realize. Your nervous system isn't reacting to reality. It's reacting to memory. And it gets worse. Because when you finally start choosing yourself, you don't feel empowered. You feel guilty, heavy, selfish, like you've done something wrong. That's the conditioning breaking. And breaking conditioning feels like breaking yourself. So what do? You hesitate. You soften your boundaries. You over-explain your no. You try to still be liked while being honest. But that's the trap. Because you're still negotiating your worth. Still trying to make your truth palatable. And here's the hard truth. Real boundaries will disappoint people. There is no version of authenticity that keeps everyone comfortable. And that realization stings. Because for so long, your identity was built on comfort. On being the one who smooths things over. The one who absorbs tension. The one who never makes things harder. But now, you are the tension. And that feels unbearable. Until something shifts. You start noticing patterns. The same people who praised your kindness now resist your boundaries. The same people who loved your availability now question your distance. And suddenly, you see it. They didn't love your kindness. They relied on your lack of limits. That realization cuts deep, because it forces you to face something uncomfortable. Some connections were built on your self-abandonment, not mutual respect, not real understanding. just access. Access to your time, your energy, your emotional labor. And once you start limiting that access, everything changes. Some people pull away. Some get passive-aggressive. Some try to guilt you back into your old role. And for a moment, you'll want to go back. Back to being easy. Back to being liked. Back to being needed. Because even if it cost you, at least it felt familiar. But here's what's disturbing. Familiar doesn't mean healthy. It just means practiced. And you've practiced disappearing for a long time. So of course being visible feels uncomfortable. But discomfort is not danger. It's growth. And this is where the real shift begins. You stop measuring your worth by how needed you are. You start measuring it by how honest you can be. And that changes everything. Because now, you're no longer performing kindness. You're choosing it. There's a difference. One drains you. The other sustains you. One is fear-based. The other is grounded. And slowly, you start noticing something new. Peace. Not the fragile peace you used to maintain by keeping everyone happy, but a deeper kind. The kind that comes from not betraying yourself. And it's quiet, unfamiliar, but real. You start speaking without rehearsing. You start resting without guilt. You start saying no without a full explanation. And at first, feels like you're losing something, but you're not. You're shedding something, the mask. And underneath it, there's a version of you that's been waiting. Not the nice version, the real one. The one with opinions, with limits, with emotions that don't always look pretty. And here's where it gets even more interesting. That version of you is not less kind. It's more honest, more grounded, more selective. Because now, you're not giving from obligation. You're giving from choice. And that changes how people experience you. Some will feel the difference immediately. They'll notice your energy isn't as easily accessible. Your time isn't as flexible. Your attention isn't as automatic. And they might not like it, but others will respect it. Because for the first time, your yes actually means something. It's not automatic. It's intentional. And that makes it valuable. This is the shift from being nice to being real. And most people never make it here because it requires something uncomfortable. Letting go of being liked by everyone. Letting go of being the safe option. Letting go of the identity that protected you. And stepping into something uncertain. Yourself. And here's the deeper truth. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be known by the right ones. But you can't be known if you're constantly editing yourself. You can't be understood if you're always adjusting your truth. And you definitely can't be loved if what people love isn't even real. That's the illusion of being the nice person. You feel accepted, but not seen. And over time, that becomes lonelier than rejection. Because at least rejection is honest. But being liked for a version of you that doesn't exist, that's isolation in disguise. So now, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to comfort, to being agreeable, to being easy, to being everything for everyone except yourself. The other path leads to friction, to honesty, to boundaries, to a version of your life that feels real, even if it's smaller, even if it's quieter, even if fewer people stay. And that's the trade. Fewer people, but deeper connections. Less approval, but more self-respect. Less performance, but more peace. And here's the part most people are afraid to admit. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone earns your kindness. Not everyone is entitled to your energy. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because now, kindness is no longer your default. It's your decision. And that makes it powerful. Not because you give more, but because you give intentionally, without losing yourself in the process. And slowly, you start rebuilding something you never had. A relationship with yourself, where your needs are not negotiable, your emotions are not inconvenient, and your voice is not optional. That relationship is the foundation of everything. Because once you have it, you stop chasing validation. You stop over-explaining. you stop shrinking, and for the first time, you feel something unfamiliar, wholeness. Not because everything in your life is perfect, but because you're no longer divided inside, no longer at war with yourself, no longer abandoning yourself to be accepted. And that's the real transformation. Not becoming less kind, but becoming honestly kind. Not losing your softness, but protecting it. Not hardening, but grounding. Because true kindness doesn't erase you, it includes you. And once you understand that, you stop being the nice person and start being something far more rare, someone real. Here's the part no one prepares you for. When you stop being the nice person, you don't immediately feel free. You feel alone, because the role you played came with constant noise, messages, requests, people needing you, relying on you, pulling you into their lives. And now, that noise starts to fade, and silence replaces it. First, it feels peaceful, then feels empty, and your mind starts playing tricks on you. Did I push everyone away? Am I becoming cold? Was I better before? This is the withdrawal, not from people, but from validation. Because for years, your sense of worth was tied to being needed. And now, without that constant reinforcement, you feel like you're disappearing. But here's what's actually happening. You're finally standing on your own, without leaning on approval, without feeding off expectations, without performing. And that feels unstable because you've never done it before. And it gets worse, because now you start noticing things you couldn't see before. Conversations that feel one-sided, relationships that feel transactional, people who only reach out when they need something. And it hits you, you weren't surrounded. You were used, not always intentionally, not always maliciously, but consistently, because you taught people that you would always be there, no matter what it cost you. And now that you're not, the dynamic breaks, and broken dynamics reveal truth. Some people disappear, some distance themselves, some stop reaching out completely. And that silence, it hurts, because a part of you still whispers, if I was easier, they would have stayed. But that's the old pattern, trying to earn presence through self-sacrifice. And here's the truth you need to hear. The people who only stay when you abandon yourself were never staying for you. They were staying for access. And losing that is not loss, it's clarity. But clarity can feel brutal, because now you're left with space. Space you used to fill with other people's needs. Space you used to avoid your own thoughts. Space you never learned how to sit in. And in that space, something deeper starts to surface. Your real needs, your real desires, your real emotions. And they don't come quietly, they come all at once. Anger for what you tolerated, grief for what you never received, confusion about who you even are without the role. And this is where most people turn back, because this part is uncomfortable, raw, unfiltered. But this is also where the real work begins, because now you're not distracted, you're not performing, you're not managing everyone else. You're finally facing yourself. And that's terrifying, because you've spent your whole life avoiding that. But here's what most people miss. The nice person identity was never just about others. It was also a way to escape yourself. If you're always focused on others, you never have to ask, what do I want? What do I feel? What do I need? And those questions, they carry weight, because they require responsibility. Responsibility for your life, your choices, your boundaries. And once you start asking them, you can't go back, because now you see the truth. You see where you overgave. You see where you stayed too long. You see where you silenced yourself, not because you were weak, but because you were conditioned. And that realization, it changes how you see everything, especially yourself, because for the first time, you stop blaming yourself for being too nice and start understanding why you had to be. And that shift is powerful because it replaces shame with awareness. And awareness is where change becomes possible. Now something new starts to form. Not a new mask, not another role, but a new foundation, one built on honesty. You start checking in with yourself before responding. You start noticing when something feels off. Instead of ignoring it, you start respecting your limits, even when it's inconvenient. And slowly, you begin to trust yourself. Not because you're always right, but because you're finally listening. And that trust, it rebuilds your identity from the inside out, not based on how others see you, but based on how you experience yourself. And here's where it all comes together. You realize something simple, but life-changing. Being a good person does not mean being a convenient person. Read that again, because that belief has been controlling you for years. You thought kindness meant availability. You thought love meant sacrifice. You thought being good meant being agreeable. But now you see it clearly. Real kindness has edges. Real love has boundaries. Real connection requires honesty. And anything without those things is not real. It's performance. And performance always collapses. So now, you're no longer trying to be liked. You're trying to be aligned. Aligned with your values, your limits, your truth. And that alignment simplifies everything. Decisions become clearer. Relationships become more honest. Your energy becomes more protected. Because now, you're not giving from pressure. You're giving from intention. And that changes how you feel. Less drained, less resentful, less divided, more grounded, more present, more you. And here's the final shift. You stop asking, how can I make everyone happy? And start asking, is this true to me? That question filters everything. What you say, what you tolerate, what you give, and who you keep in your life. Because now, you understand something most people never do. Your kindness is not your obligation. It's your choice. And that choice is what makes it real. So in the end, the dark side of being the nice person was never about kindness itself. It was about losing yourself in the process of trying to be accepted. But now, you're not trying to be accepted anymore. You're trying to be real. And that changes everything. Because when you're real, you don't need to be everything for everyone. You just need to be honest with yourself. And the people who stay, they won't stay because you're easy. They'll stay because you're true. And that kind of connection, it doesn't drain you. It doesn't erase you. It doesn't require you to disappear. It allows you to exist, fully, finally, as yourself. And maybe for the first time, that's enough.